Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. Today I'm responding to quite a few of you who have said recently, I am overwhelmed at the state of affairs in our world, but specifically in America today. What do I do? Listen, that is a fair question. And it is a multi-layered answer. Let's start with the understanding of what is happening, okay? To be clear, this actual video is going to be more centered on American politics. Don't get this confused though. This is happening in many countries. And what's happening here is informing what is happening in many countries, either going way in the other direction or following in the footsteps of, and well, not a lot in between. Currently, what we've been seeing for the last more than 100 days in America is intentional misinformation, disinformation, and overwhelm. Like, it is intentional. You are, by design, currently feeling overwhelmed. Those of you who are feeling overwhelmed right now are feeling that way because you're paying attention. Social media algorithms are created to feed back to us what we put in, the good and the bad, right? So, for example, a couple of years ago, when the primaries were happening prior to the presidential election, the governor of the state that I live in was in the news a lot. And I would click on every headline that he was in. Not because I like him, not because I actually wanted to read the news about him, but because I do not like him. What started happening was all of the headlines in my news app would start to be about him, and they would be more and more and more outrageous headlines. And I didn't necessarily notice it was happening until I took a vacation mid-cycle and then came back and turned my notifications back on and noticed how outlandish everything was, because it had happened so subtly and so slowly. Had I not taken that break, I don't know when I would have noticed, but that's what algorithms do. They feed back to you anything that you spend time on. So whether it's something that you're hate reading, hate following, or something that you're enjoying, you are getting that fed back to you regularly. Anything you're engaging in, which is spending your time on, commenting on, liking, disliking, screenshotting, sharing, anything that you are engaging in, you are getting that fed back to you, which is going to give you more of either the good or the bad of the things that you're seeing. And right now, for a lot of us, that means the bad. Social media as a whole largely convinced an entire group of people in 2020 that a certain candidate won, a issue that we are still seeing the ramifications of in 2025. It also convinced an entire group of people that their candidate was winning in 2024, which led to a lot of shock on November 6th of 2024. Because social media feeds you similar things to what you engage in. And if you're engaging in media that reflects the values of the candidate that you're supporting, or people that vote for the candidate you're supporting, that's what you're going to see. So that's what you're going to believe the majority of people are backing. This feeds directly into what's happening from the administration right now. It's not just the executive orders at this point. It was in the beginning when the cabinet was still being built. It was just the executive orders, and that was enough. Now it's news coming out of every arena of the administration. All of the things being said, plus the executive orders, are designed to overwhelm you. The thing is, the current administration benefits from the people who are, shall we say, less flexible cognitively, because the things that are said from authority figures, the administration, the Health and Human Services, Department of Education, or disliking the Department of Education because the people in the administration say that you should, general disinformation of what the actual Department of Education does or did, I'm not even sure at this point, is a prime example of that. There was no shortage of people who were shouting into the void of what the Department of Education did or did not do, and yet so many people saying in their understanding of why it was being dismantled in the first place, that it was because of curriculum and it was because of giving curriculum back to the states, when the Department of Education has never been in charge of curriculum ever, and the states have always been in charge of it. That has never been a thing. But the message came from the administration, and those who accept that information that they're given and don't question it and don't research it, they believe that and then move forward. And anybody who disagrees are lying to them, but people who fit into their narrative are on their side. Cognitive flexibility is kind of a big deal right now and fairly essential, but it also puts you in a situation where it becomes difficult to see those who are not flexible in their cognitive processes. And the reason for that is because when you put the effort into looking at something from multiple sides and trying to understand what's happening and do the research into something because you saw a headline that seems viable and plausible, but maybe a little off, and you do the research into it, and then you see people who are accepting headlines that you know to be untrue, and you have the resources and education to say that it's untrue, and people are not believing you because they just read the headline. That frustration causes further divide, and that's also by design, because this administration as a whole is leaning into those who are less flexible cognitively, and those who aren't, they don't necessarily need, because you're going to ask questions and you're going to push back and you're going to say, what about these things? And they don't have time for that or need for that because they don't want to be questioned. The thing about the executive orders that are coming out and have been coming out since January 20th is that most of them are never going to actually go into effect because the majority of them are not going to stand up in court. So they get challenged, they get written, they get put out there, publicized and promoted in all sorts of ways. And then they get challenged in court, they get struck down in court, and for most of them, then they just never happen. For some of them, they still happen, and that's an entirely different video as a whole, but they don't ever happen. But it doesn't matter to this administration because they already got that opinion or whatever out there. Take what they did the very first day of the administration when he signed an executive order and stood up and said in his presidential address that there were only two genders in our country and defined those two genders in this way right here. I'm writing on the screen, not saying it out loud because I'm hoping that writing it on the screen is going to not make this video get demonetized. So this definition does not work. That's not how it works. You don't have those organs at conception. My point. It doesn't matter. Like that doesn't matter because they got that information out there. They got that as part of their agenda out there. And now they have people all over the country stopping people from using restrooms, having male security guards going in and pulling cis women from the restrooms because they don't look girly enough. Like, what? The point of this cognitive flexibility piece is you need to be doing your research. If you are somebody who has any sort of cognitive flexibility, you need to be doing your research. You see a headline that is interesting to you or is alarming to you before you share it, actually like sending it to someone, or before you tell somebody that you read it, you need to be reading the article. You need to be making sure the headline is actually reflecting what's in the article. And then you need to be researching and making sure there are other people out there, other articles out there that aren't just citing the article you read, that verify what you're reading before you share the information. Don't be part of the disinformation machine. Just don't be. That's one of the ways you can actually help yourself and others. Don't spread stuff that's not true. I need you to understand that the executive orders as a whole are essentially just propaganda. They are a vehicle for an administration to get their agenda out in front of people who are just going to take it and eat it up with a spoon and move forward as though that is the rule of law. Executive orders are not laws. So essentially, they get their agenda out there no matter what. Important to understand, the same is true for the breaking news cycle phenomenon that is happening largely on the other side. This idea that every 5 seconds there's breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Not everything is worthy of breaking news. News breaks every couple of minutes, true, but not everything is breaking news. I hope that makes sense. The thing is, unless you are coming out with the words breaking news, you're not catching people. You're not, like, that's your hook. When that's your hook, you're getting people's attention. But you're also giving people information fatigue and they stop listening after a while. Especially when your breaking news is essentially just you reciting the ticker at the bottom of the MSNBC screen without crediting the original reporters. Information fatigue makes us complacent. When you are getting too much information, you will, number one, get exhausted and stop listening, which means you will miss the important things you need to hear. When all of the information is rushing at you all of the time, where do you even start in detangling what's true and what's not, in figuring out how to disseminate information to people that you need to give information to? It ends up being easier to go, I don't even know where to start, and walk away. And once you say, I don't even know where to start, and walk away, then essentially the people who are doing the overwhelming and misinforming and disinforming have freedom to do whatever they want to do. When we are way too tired and way too overwhelmed to engage in the information that we are getting and engage in the things that are ours to do, we stop fighting back. We stop organizing. We stop being involved even in our everyday lives or in our communities as a whole. We stop being passionate about the things that we are passionate about, and we stop getting in the way of those that are looking to change things in a way that will be detrimental to all of us. Okay, what do we do? Because that's really the question, right? What do we do? There are a couple of things that you can do for yourself individually. Number one is you need to set time limits, and only you can decide what your time limit is. You need to set your time limits on how much information do you consume, how often do you consume it, and where do you get it from? Like, you need to figure out what your limits are. And I do suggest a scaling tool for this. If you know that 10 is your max, right? You're just maxed out and you're going to go hide under the covers for multiple days. And 0 is your, I'm skipping through a field of daisies without a care in the world. You need to know a couple of things. Where is your point of no return that you're going to a 10? Right? Because everybody has one. You have a number on that scale. For some people it's a 9, for some people it's a 6, like wherever it is. Maybe you're a 4. I don't know. You have a point that when you get to that point, you're going to get to a 10 for sure. Discover where your point of no return is. So say your point of no return is a 7. You need to figure out where your 5 is and stop engaging at a 5. Not a 6. Not a 6. A 5. Because you need that space, you know? You need that margin in your life. You live your life with margins. That's essential. Stop engaging at a 5 then. If your number is an 8 or a 9, stop engaging at a 6 or a 7, but you need to give yourself that margin before your point of no return. And everybody's number is going to be different, and there's nothing wrong with what your number is, and there's nothing wrong with your number being different from your partner's number or from your children's number or from your best friend's number or from, I don't know, a creator you follow's number. Like, there's nothing wrong with any of that. Just find your number and be true to it. Connected. Edit your algorithms. Like, especially TikTok, because it's so easy to do on TikTok. You can reset your algorithm very, very quickly. Go in, start searching cute puppies, like funny babies, and like every damn video that comes across. It will reset your algorithm fairly quickly, and engage in videos that make you happy more than videos that make you angry. Send them to people, save them. Those kind of engagements will reset your algorithm fairly quickly. Not as quickly as before the first shutdown, but that's neither here nor there. Understand the meta algorithms are the most toxic algorithms, and that is what they're going to be. So be careful what you do with your time. Unfollow people, block people, mute people. Like, why are you following the people who make you angry? Why are you still reading their Facebook statuses? Or why are you getting things on your Instagram feed that are just not reflecting things that you believe in or people that you want to be part of? Like, why? There's no reason for that. Connect with other humans. Like, really connect. Put down your phone and connect. Put down your screens. Get with other humans. Look them in the eyes. Sounds weird because I'm saying this to you through a screen, but connect with other humans. Ask someone how their day was and look them in the eye when they tell you. The thing is, y'all, when you zoom out and look at where we are right now, we had this crazy thing happen in 2020, and it rocked our lives. And there were so many times that I remember looking at people and saying, you know, I don't want life to go back to what it was before, because it wasn't that great before. You know, we weren't connected as people, and when we couldn't do things, even here in Florida where we didn't have that long of a shutdown, we were so desperate to get together with people. It's honestly the last time like my neighborhood really felt cohesive. Like we would get out our lawn chairs and meet in our cul-de-sac, and we would look at each other and talk to each other and hear about each other's lives. And it was literally the last time we did that, because once everything opened up again, we just stopped doing that and went back to our disconnection, and went back to our phones, and went back to our screens, and it stopped, and people got desperate for a return to normalcy that ended up removing our opportunity to learn anything. And when you look at the lessons that we failed to learn in our leadership, we are now right back where we were prior to 2020 in every single way, and actually worse in every single way. We didn't learn what we should have learned. And I'm not a religious person anymore. I don't know what I believe in a lot of things, but I believe that we should learn lessons from the past. Like any other administration in history that has done the things that are happening right now, where you find groups of people that are to blame and other them repeatedly, and then this group, and then this group, and then this group, and you take away freedoms from these groups, but you tell them you're not taking away freedoms, and you convince significant amounts of people that freedoms are not being taken away, even though they are, even though we know they are. Like, we know it, but gaslight us into thinking it's not, attempt to gaslight us into thinking it's not, and then before you know it, there are no freedoms and there is no say. And that's happened multiple times throughout history. Here in our country, we didn't learn our lessons when we could have. Let's not make that mistake again. Let's get connected and stay connected. Let's remember that we need each other, and remember that we are not better off on our own, and that being together is important in the way that you can be. Okay? Understand, safety first. Being with people who are safe for you to be with is what I'm talking about. Finding things that you can control. The world feels out of control. Anxiety is going to come up when the world feels out of control. The higher your anxiety, the more out of control things feel. You need to find things you can control. Whether that means setting aside time every week to organize your living space, or, I don't know, organize a closet in your house, declutter your room, wash your car, get your planner out and plan out your weeks, do meal planning. Like, find things that you can control in your everyday life, things that are actually in your own control, and control those things, not to the point where anybody trying to have influence over it is a threat, but remembering that you do have control over multiple things in your own life, and doing those things regularly is going to help to manage some of that anxiety. Do things you love every day. Do something you love every single day, because none of this matters if you're not doing that. The point of all of this is to let people live lives that they love, with people they love, and doing things that they love. And if you're not doing the things that you love, why are we doing this, right? Like, do things that you love, and then fight where and when you can. Part of the problem that I'm seeing right now is I'm seeing a lot of rhetoric of people either like, you gotta go or you gotta stay. You gotta fight or you gotta sit back. There's just not any one answer. Everyone has to do what they have to do for themselves, and you cannot judge someone else's decisions. You're not in their shoes. Okay, so there you go. There are some ideas on what you can do. If this was helpful, let me know. If you are enjoying these videos, I'd really love if you'd make sure that you're subscribed and everything. It is possible that I am not getting pushed out into the algorithm right now the way that I have been in years past. So I'd really appreciate some, making sure you're subscribing if you're liking what I'm putting out there. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.